In the small town of Blackthorn, there was a legend about the Hollow Man. He appeared on foggy nights, his body thin and emaciated, his face featureless except for two deep black holes where his eyes should be. If you saw him, it was already too late. He would follow you home, and by morning, you'd be gone. No one believed the stories, of course. Not until the night Emily saw him. She was walking home from a late shift. The fog so thick she could barely see ahead. The streetlights cast an eerie glow, and the air was unnaturally still. Emily quickened her pace, her footsteps echoing in the silence. That's when she heard a soft, wet sound, like something dragging itself across the pavement. She stopped, her heart pounding, and peered into the fog. Slowly, a figure emerged. It was tall and impossibly thin, its limbs elongated and twisted. Its skin was pale and slick, like it was covered in slime. But the worst part was its face blank and smooth, except for those two bottomless holes. Emily froze, her breath catching. The Hollow Man tilted his head, as if studying her, and began to move toward her. His steps were slow and deliberate, his body swaying unnaturally. Emily turned and ran, her feet slapping against the wet pavement. She could hear him behind her, the wet dragging sound growing louder. She didn't dare look back. She sprinted to her house, fumbling with her keys, her hands shaking. She slammed the door shut, locking it and leaning against it, gasping for breath. The house was silent, but she could still hear him outside. The sound of his footsteps circling the house. She peeked through the curtains and saw him standing in the fog, his head tilted, those hollow eyes staring right at her. Emily called the police, but they found nothing. No footprints, no sign of anyone. They told her it was her imagination, but she knew better. She spent the night huddled on the couch, clutching a knife, listening to the faint scratching at the windows. By morning, the fog had lifted, and the Hollow Man was gone. Emily thought she was safe until she saw the note scrawled on her bathroom mirror, the letters dripping like they'd been written in water. "I'm inside." She searched the house, but there was no one there. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard a soft, wet sound coming from under the bed. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't obey. She felt cold, bony fingers wrap around her ankles and begin to pull. The next morning, Emily was gone. The house was empty, the doors and windows locked from the inside. The only clue was the note on the mirror, now dry but still visible. And on foggy nights, the people of Blackthorn swear they see her Emily, her face blank and hollow, walking beside the Hollow Man. Her eyes nothing but two deep, black holes,